Abdul Shakur is the principal state attorney who led this particular case for and on behalf of the state. Thank you for joining us. I mean, there certainly must be victory for the prosecution, is it not?
Definitely it is. And we are so happy that it went the way it went. We are so grateful to everybody that was part of it, especially to you, TV3, who kept us on our toes, and all the other people that made sure that we went through what we went through. I'm so grateful.
And taking into consideration how this particular case, the path that it has traveled, right from when this incident happened in February, and the need that the people had to, as it were, have this case tried on the soil of where this happened, even when the then Chief Justice was of the view that this case be moved. They had direct and personal interest in this particular case. I mean, looking at how things have played out till now, certainly raises fundamental questions about the interest that this case really brought and the outcome as we have seen, especially because of the gentleman who's been found guilty of this crime.
Let me say that Mr. L. Johnson, the owner of Royal Cosy Hotel, otherwise known as Jirapa Dubai, is one of those persons you can say is the single most important investor in Upper West region. So when we woke up in 11th and realized that this man has been murdered in cold blood in his room, stabbed with multiple wounds, everybody in Upper West were agitated. Everybody, we're all agitated. But the police moved into high G. I think that we must commend the police. They did a thorough, a very, very good job, and everybody should commend the police for what they did. A high team of investigation moved straight from Accra to Jirapa. The scene was preserved by the local police people, but when they moved in, they took charge. They took fingerprints, took footprints, and took other evidences from the place. And then they gathered there were 10 people they arrested, and 10 of them were all taken through the mill. And eventually, they found that Mr. Elisha Mahama, the former HR, because he was dismissed a day after he committed the offense, had his footprints and fingerprints in the bedroom and in the crime scene. So he was picked up. Eventually, he was picked up in Takoradi and brought to her for the trial. Like he accurately narrated, before the trial, he had petitioned the Chief Justice through his counsel to have the case moved from Wa to Kumasi because he feared that he might not get justice. But we resisted it, and thankfully, we resisted through the Attorney General then, Godfrey Dami, who moved in and ensured that the case was brought back to Wa for the trial to commence. And we counter-petitioned and said that the incident happened in Jirapa. Jirapa is a district in Wa. All the witnesses, 7 out of the 9 witnesses we called, were all in Wa, so it was only appropriate that we have the trial in Wa. Eventually, the Chief Justice rescinded the original decision to transfer the case, and we proceeded with the case. We called about 9 witnesses, and we brought in fingerprint experts, cybersecurity experts. All of them led evidence that were cogent, that were accurate, and that was beyond reasonable doubt. That eventually led to Elisha Mahama's conviction. So in actual fact, the trial took place, it took over a period of about a year and a half. We moved the court to have the trial done daily, and the court agreed with us. So we're doing the trial daily until something happened. Then necessitated about 3 months adjournment because counsel for Elisha was taken ill. And therefore, we had to oblige them adjournment for 3 months. We couldn't go to court. We didn't proceed 3 months. We only came back after 3 months. The people were agitated. A lot of things were said about us. A lot of things were said about prosecution. But we were just calm because we knew what we were doing. We had our evidence intact. We had everything intact. And we put it before the court. We had 2 other persons. One was his girlfriend, who was also a front deck officer, and another was a gate man. When we refer to him as a security, I refer to him as a gate man because his sole duty at Jirapa Dubai was to open and close the gate when the owner, Eric Johnson, was moving out. So we held him because we thought that if we're a security man or if we're a gate man, you should know who is exiting and who is entering. But the fact that he knew everything up to the point of when the person who killed Eric Johnson was exiting, at that point he went blank. Then the girlfriend, who initially said she didn't have a call with the accused person, later the call records reflected that she and the accused person were in the same vicinity at the time that he called him. We realized that the accused person was in the premises of the hotel at the time that he called the girlfriend and the time that the murder took place. That's why we also held him. But the court found that there was not enough nexus to connect the girlfriend and the gate man, so they were acquitted and discharged, but found that there was sufficient evidence to convict the suspect, Elisha Mahama. So that's what took place in court. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to life
in fact,
in prison.
I was just about asking that question about if he was dismissed, Elisha Mahama was dismissed a day before he committed this murder.
Elisha Mahama, the accusation with Elisha Mahama had a lot of, he was on a dating spree with the hotel staff.
He was on a dating spree?
With the hotel staff.
You mean he was, what do you mean he was dating the hotel staff, female staff?
Every girl in the hotel ground had something to do with Elisha Mahama.
Every
At least
girl.
we have a record of 2 girls that were in the hotel that were all sleeping with Elisha Mahama, but at their blind side. The one of the girls that was dating her was our first witness. She was the one who said that when Elisha Mahama came to sleep in her place, had sex with her, he didn't have any cut. But when he returned, he had a deep cut in his right hand, which the doctors interpreted as a defensive wound, and was so apprehensive and anxious to leave Jirapa in the dead of the night after 2 a.m. That made her to testify that she didn't see Elijah with a wound, and then later Elijah had a deep cut in his right finger. When he was confronted with deep cut, he said, even though he's red-handed, he said that whenever he's cutting vegetables, he uses, because of hygiene, he handles the knife with the left hand. So that's why the cut was on the right hand. But it was so obvious that it was not the case. It was a defensive wound. Eric Johnson fought back, inflicted wound on him before Eric Johnson eventually subdued with multiple injuries. So the girl was dismissed alongside, one of his girlfriends was dismissed alongside Elisha Mahama, and that's PW, that's the prosecution witness number 1. That's Loretta Asare. She was helpful to the prosecution because when it was disclosed to her that this was the situation, she then told the court that when Elisha came to him, he said he was leaving the following day, but when Elijah left him around 8 and returned at 12, and the murder took place between 10, 11, and 12, and he returned after 12 and said that, and went to bath again after he had bathed that night. So the testimony actually helped the court. So he had 2 girlfriends were admitted that were working in the hotel. One was still there, they didn't know about her, but one was dismissed alongside Elisha Mahama, and that became our first witness.
I see. It's a very, very troubling detail as we are hearing right now. But then again, any idea of how he got into the house after being dismissed?
Yes.
Did that come up? Did that come up at any point during the trial?
It came up at all times material. That is why we held the girlfriend, because the house wasn't broken into. A ladder was placed at the other fence, and the electric fence was cut. So he climbed over the wall, used a master key to enter the room. Who gave him the master key still remain an unanswered question, because we thought that, and we urged the view that it was the girlfriend he called at the time he was in the premises that handed over the master key to him. but the court refused. The juror said no, it didn't connect, so he was acquitted and discharged. It was our view that it was the girlfriend that gave him the master key. So the unresolved question is that who gave him the master key? Because he entered the room with a master key, opened the doors, and then committed the heinous crime.
And that also, the answer to that question would have also then given further indication of exactly how this was carried out, is it not? So with this answer not being given, does it take anything away from this, the outcome of this?
It doesn't, because, you see, because it's science. We told the court two things. There's circumstantial evidence and there's scientific evidence. The scientific evidence was in respect of the fingerprints, the footprints, and the location of the phone calls. That is not an opinion. These were established facts. But the circumstances were said that we gave it put the man and Elisha Mahama in the place. So the science tells that apart from this connection, Elisha Mahama at all times material was in the room of the accused person at the time he was murdered. His footprints, his fingerprints are in the room. And that was our strongest point.
I see. But so how did the family take this this outcome today? And were they in court when this judgment was delivered?
The court was packed to rafters. The family were in court. The family were happy that Elisha Mahama is eventually facing justice. But they were dissatisfied with the fact that two of the persons were acquitted, because they still think that there are questions that people have to answer. But that is what we have to accept. But overall, the family is happy that this thing went the way it went. Initially, when the case was delayed, the wrath was on the prosecution. The Attorney General Department or Office of Attorney General was the one that was receiving the flag for the delay of the case, unbeknown to the general public. And we didn't tell anybody because health was an issue. We thought that once counsel was not well, we didn't have to rush issues. We had to wait for him to return to the case. So that was the case. That's why I kept it for a year and a half or more. But we are saying that ultimately, we all know, and it's a cliche, that the wheels of justice grind slowly.
Indeed.
But they grind exceedingly fine.
And now, listening to you, it's quite clear that you are dissatisfied with the acquittal and discharge of these two. That's the girlfriend of this Elisha Mahama, and then the gate man. So, are you going to appeal the acquittal and the discharge of these two?
I wouldn't say I'm dissatisfied. I think that from the beginning, when we took the case, we look at where our strength was and where our weaknesses were. The team of lawyers, we look at it. It was not about me. I had Miriam Amwako, who I assigned the case to. I was only supervising. We agreed that our case against the second and third accused persons were tenors. We're not that strong, but we had to push our luck. But the case against the first accused person, Elisha Mahama, was rock solid. So we are not that disappointed. We think that, yes, it was 50-50. If it went either way, we will still be content with it. But our solid case was against Elisha Mahama, and we got conviction of it.
You would have definitely hoped for a better outcome. But to the extent that this very critical question of how Elisha got access to the room of the deceased remains unanswered. There's no answer to it. It's still a bother to you.
There's no answer to it. It's still a bother to us. But the person who carried on the heinous crime is Elisha Mahama. His fingerprints, his footprints were all in the room, blood-stained footprints. And you know, as well as me, that footprints and fingerprints are unique to the individual, and that no two fingerprints or footprints are the same. And the experts told us so. And so we are satisfied that the person who actually carried the heinous offense has been convicted. However, the people who aided the commission of the offense, the juries, we cannot say who it is. So that is still an unanswered question.
And I do thank you very much for this, and thank you so much for spending some time with us, and then also doing this for the family and the people in the region who heavily also dependent on this man, the deceased Eric Johnson, and the investment in that area. Lawyer Said Abdul Shakur is a principal state attorney who led this case together with a team on behalf of the state in this murder case of Eric Johnson, the owner of Jirapa Dubai. Elisha Mahama has been charged. In fact, he has been sentenced to the life imprisonment. And the other two, that's the girlfriend and that's the security man, he has also, the two of them have been discharged, acquitted and discharged. And that's what the state attorney, the principal state attorney, is raising concerns about, that question that remains unanswered as to how Elisha Mahama got access to the room of the late Eric Johnson. There is no answer to that question as we speak. But this is one that we'll keep an eye on, whether or not there's going to be further query for this answer that the state will take up. But this is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next.